Something happened today that could haunt Keir Starmer for years. What was supposed to be a diplomatic triumph has spiraled into a political minefield, one that's already triggered backlash from across the spectrum. Behind the smiles and handshakes with EU leaders lies a deal so controversial it's left even Starmer's own allies scrambling for answers. The full details are only just emerging, but what we know so far has already sent a jolt through Westminster. Let's break it down, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. It's been called a reset, a so-called fresh start with Brussels, but for millions of Brits it feels more like a betrayal. On what was meant to be a landmark moment in Labour's post-Brexit diplomacy, Keir Starmer has walked straight into a trap, and the fallout is already explosive. According to reports emerging ahead of today's high-stakes summit with EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, Starmer has agreed in principle to a new veterinary alignment deal with the EU. But behind the diplomatic language lies a blunt reality. British sovereignty is once again up for sale. And the price. Our fishing rights, handed over to EU trawlermen until 2038. Yes, you heard that right. After years of reclaiming control from Brussels, after the Brexit vote, and the long grueling negotiations that followed, the Labour leader has reportedly given it all away in one sweeping concession. In return for smoother trade in meat and dairy products, Starmer has allegedly signed away the rights to British coastal waters for another 13 years. A deal critics are already calling fish for food. Now let's be clear, the idea of securing trade in perishable goods isn't in itself controversial, but trading away Britain's sovereign control over its own waters, that's where the outrage begins. The new agreement is said to include the UK aligning with EU plant and animal health rules, regulations we spent years freeing ourselves from, and if that wasn't enough of a slap in the face, disputes over these laws will reportedly fall under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. So much for taking back control, and the backlash, immediate, scathing, and bipartisan. Former Brexit negotiator Lord Frost didn't mince his words. He branded the move a shocking abandonment of British fishermen, declaring, "It's been one concession after another. When the dust settles, we will find there is very little for Britain in this deal, and a lot that takes us back towards EU control." He's right to be angry. For years, our fishermen have been held up as a symbol of post-Brexit independence. They were promised a return of control over our waters, a new era of prosperity, and freedom from EU red tape. Instead, under Starmer's watch, they're being cast aside like pawns in a European chess match. Top Conservative MP Andrew Bowie added fuel to the fire, saying, "If it is true that Labour has surrendered British waters to the EU until 2038, that is worse than a surrender, it is a total capitulation." And he's not exaggerating. This isn't just poor negotiation, it's a strategic disaster. Starmer and his team seem desperate to prove that Labour is competent on foreign affairs, but all they've managed to do is wave a white flag in front of Brussels. What makes this even more infuriating is the pattern. First, Starmer hinted at closer alignment with EU rules. Then came talk of restoring freedom of movement in all but name. Now, he's handing over our natural resources in exchange for minor trade perks. Every step brings us closer to the European orbit, with no democratic mandate to do so. Labour didn't campaign on re-entering EU systems, but they're dragging us back under them anyway. Let's not forget the political timing either. With a general election looming, Starmer is gambling on his EU reset to look like statesmanship. But the optics couldn't be worse. He walked into this summit outplayed, outmaneuvered, and now overshadowed by furious headlines across the country. Even Labour supporters are beginning to ask, what exactly are we getting out of this? To put it plainly, Starmer's Monday reset has turned into a public relations and policy nightmare, and the damage may only just be beginning. Expect to see this become a defining wedge issue, one that will be seized upon by Reform UK, Conservative Brexiteers, and millions of disillusioned voters who feel that the will of 17.4 million people is once again being quietly overwritten. This wasn't a reset, it was a reversal, and Britain knows it. In other news, Reform UK is preparing to launch its Doge-style crackdown on wasteful spending from next week, we have been told. Nigel Farage is expected to start instructing auditors to inspect the finances of county halls across England once Reform takes formal control of all 10 of its local authorities over the coming days. The process is expected to be completed early next week, with just one Reform-run council having already sworn in its fresh-faced set of councillors. We get to see the books from next week onwards, a Reform source said. In a dossier shared with the People's Channel, Reform UK exposed some of the most egregious spending sprees raked up by local authorities, which were swept up by the turquoise tidal wave earlier this month. Reform UK slammed Durham County Council for setting aside £120 million to meet net zero targets ahead of 2030. Meanwhile, a net zero consultant was paid £44,000 as part of plans to draw up a waste strategy in West Northamptonshire. Neighbouring North Northamptonshire separately forked out £1.1 million for a 4-year contract to hand out free vapes for people looking to quit smoking. Reform UK also included a series of staff-related costs in its dossier, including £11,500 a year for Lincolnshire County Council to run 8 diversity courses, and Lancashire County Council spending £520,000 on a 4-year contract for ergonomic chairs. However, other spending sprees focus on inefficient projects, ranging from £150 million for a disused waste recycling plant in Derbyshire to Doncaster splurging £20 million on bike lanes that failed to result in a cycling surge. Nottinghamshire County Council was even noted as having spent £150,000 on the development of its MyNots mobile app. Despite Robin Hood Country being home to 825,000 people, the app received just 60 reviews on the Google Play Store and an additional 16 on Apple's App Store. 2 local authorities were also found to have spent thousands of pounds outside of the UK, with Kent County Council opening an office in Brussels and Staffordshire County Council, sending 5 members of staff to the south of France for a 5-day property conference at the cost of £12,000. Soaring council tax rates have sparked cries for a crackdown on wasteful spending, with Lancashire announcing a 5% hike and Lincolnshire pushing through a 3% increase. Other council areas have been forced to drastically reduce services, with the Birmingham bin strikes continuing to wreak havoc in the West Midlands. After Reform UK shared its dossier, Richard Tice argued it is time for local authorities to put residents first by cracking down on ballooning costs and delivering better services. He told the People's Channel the level of overspending and waste in our councils is incomprehensible. Councils are now hundreds of millions of pounds in debt, CEOs are paid astronomical salaries, and the daily interest on that debt, paid by local taxpayers, is often tens of thousands of pounds. Public services are crumbling, potholes plague our streets, and bins go uncollected. Yet council tax continues to rise every year, and the cost of living keeps soaring. Our councils are failing to deliver for working people. Reform UK will send in specialists to examine the finances/wasteful contracts and expose reckless overspending. We will eliminate unnecessary expenses, including DEI programs and asylum hotels. In essence, we will put residents first and deliver real value for taxpayers. Ahead of the 2025 local elections, Farage confirmed plans to create a UK Doge after revealing that Reform UK had submitted 3,000 Freedom of Information requests to local authorities. The Reform UK leader said, "We've been preparing for this for a long time. I simply can't believe the money that's being spent on consultants. I can't believe the money that's being spent on agency workers. I can't believe areas like climate change or teeth brushing. These are all areas where council tax money, taxpayers' money, is being spent that I don't think is the remit of a local council." However, Reform is facing calls to deliver on its wasteful spending crackdown after receiving its mandate on May 1st. William Yarwood, media campaign manager at the Taxpayers Alliance, said, Taxpayers are rightly fed up with how local authorities waste their hard-earned money. At the same time as they see their council tax bills increasing, they see frontline services crumbling and public spaces in disarray. If Reform wants to prove that they're more than just a party of protest, they need to deliver on their promises to clean up local councils. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.